Muy buenas tardes, son las 18:02 y les saluda el profesor Cristian Cristóful, coordinador del Departamento de Lengua Inglesa del Instituto Superior de Lenguas, en calidad de moderador. El día de hoy se da inicio a la defensa virtual de Tesina, acorde a la resolución número 1214/2025, que fija conformación de mesa examinadora de la Tesina con el título Phonetics for Singers, Teaching English Lyric Diction to Voice Students at a Public Music Conservatory, cargo de la autora Alexandra, Vera y Aragon, de la carrera de Lengua Inglesa del Instituto Superior de Lenguas. El día de hoy, viernes 5 de diciembre del 2025. En calidad de miembros del Tribunal Examinador, saludamos a la profesora Rocío Mazzoleni, en calidad de presidenta de mesa, y a las profesoras Romina Bento y Carolina Ortiz. Muy buenas tardes, profesoras, bienvenidas.
Buenas tardes. Ok.
Damos el micrófono entonces a la profesora Rocío, que va a tener el desarrollo de la tesis. Adelante, profesora.
Thank you. Alexandra, so you have 30 minutes to present your topic, okay? A thesis dissertation defense is not a summary. You have to explain to us a little in a short in the time you have allotted, and then we might ask you some questions, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Afterwards, we will ask you to leave, and we will call you back when it's time to give your grade, okay?
Super.
Okay, please start.
Okay. I see I have permission to share my screen. All right, great. So the first one is about the study of lyric diction phonetics, and this one is part of the study of voice pedagogy. This is a study of text execution, taking into account aspects such as pronunciation and enunciation, with the goal to facilitate communication. Lyric diction relies on neutral pronunciation, facilitate clarification, and the study of English cadence, as mentioned as above, in 2008. And here's the connection with phonetics and the study of linguistics, and also there's the use of international phonetic alphabet, as well as English varieties such as Standard English. The main concerns are the aspects that have to be taken into account when teaching lyric diction that go beyond phonetic instruction, because we have to take into consideration that we're teaching phonetics to singers, and it have a singing application opposed to spoken or spontaneous speech. It is also important to keep in mind that these are not English native speakers, and they were voice students of a music conservatory in Asunción. The idea is to explore the application of the linguistic knowledge studied throughout the curriculum years, and in this field that might be a little bit unusual. Diction can be benefited by this already systematized knowledge of place of articulation, point of articulation, as well as the International Phonetic Alphabet. And moving forward, just to establish our field, lyric diction, sometimes called dependent to to the institution. It's called erudition, sometimes it's called phonetics. But in general, the study is part of the training of classical singers and involve, as mentioned, phonetics. And they have to learn, and not being linguistics or linguists or teachers, they have to learn as well how to read international phonetic alphabet. So we're focusing on the considerations for teaching English phonetics to these voice students, and to explore the application of teaching English phonetics to singers. Um, let me see. Also, I wanted to mention that, I mean, it is also of interest of this research to observe the application of this theory in a local context. The purpose is to study the implication of teaching phonetics in lyric diction in singers, because a pronunciation that is closer to the language standard aids intelligibility, which at the same time aids communication, and the singers they have to communicate as well, um, the message of the music they are interpreting. Um, Therefore, the main question is, what is the impact of explicit instruction in English phonetics on the diction of voice students? And our sub-questions are, what considerations should be taken into account for sound production and voice projection? And what considerations should be taken when teaching singers who have a limited knowledge of the language? Um, um, as mentioned, I mean, I think this research is relevant because we are exploring the local context, or the application of the theory in a local context. Similarly, not being the main intention, but we also are observing a little bit of what is the English level of Paraguayan students in a tertiary level. And lastly, with the intention is to contribute a little bit to the local literature in the subject matter. One limitation to the knowledge is that the role of participant observer. So there might be bias that has to be acknowledged. And other limitation was that the use of purposive sampling, because it was necessary to the limit our population to singers that are receiving this academic instruction, as well as they have to be singing or learning a piece in the English language. Regarding the ethical concerns, all the participants sign a consent form that was orally explained. All their identities are preserved by the use of pseudonyms, and it has to be acknowledged that the possible bias of the dual insider researcher. However, as an attempt to mitigate this bias is the triangulation approach employed. These are we're going to explain a little bit what the literature explains about it. As we mentioned, we're talking a little bit about the text execution. Scholars in the literature highlight its importance by mentioning its presence in technique books. It is a topic that is relevant to singer, to the instructors, to the companies as well. I wanted to highlight Cashman quote here, because they mentioned that the application is a little bit broader than its definition, because yes, you take into account pronunciation, but also the realization of language within its musical setting. And you have to integrate some aspects of phonetics within the singing technique. Um, Similarly, as mentioned, as stated, this is part of voice pedagogy. We're not going to delve deep into voice pedagogy, but rather on the articulatory and phonetic aspect. But just to mention the connection, voice pedagogy mentions posture, release, subject of interest of voice pedagogy are relaxation of the places and point of articulation. And this is where I think the study of phonetics can contribute something to diction and pedagogy. Um, to explain briefly the linguistic situation is that traditionally Italian, German, French, and Latin are the ones that are mentioned, traditionally studied. And they are the ones that have the biggest corpus of literature on how to address this topic. And English, as a result, has a smaller amount of literature. And another thing that you find when you read the literature is that it's the way it's written is targeted mostly to English native speakers, and this is where Dia mentions that the needs of a reader whose first language is not English sometimes are left unaddressed because of this. Because it is assumed that you have that you learn it by as your mother tongue. Um, um, so in this way, also scholars on the matter of voice pedagogy, singing, they mention the relevance of phonetic instruction as phonemes being this vehicle in which singers project their voice. They mentioned the relevance of the use of the International Phonetic Alphabet. And Parvinel and Cardoso mentioned the opposite scenario when they state the challenges that have singers who may not have the same command of the target language, and they have to sing in that language. I wanted to mention that Rager and Anderson also provide a background of sorry, this background of this subject matter being taught by language professionals, which is the case in a University of Kansas and the University of Massachusetts. And I wanted to mention also these they have this subject matter has its own set of rules because we are dealing with the language that is sung as opposed to spoken, and it's not spontaneous. So what we're looking for is to increase vocal time, and as a result, sometimes we shift the consonants to the next syllable, and also in relaxation, and it's very important of the jaw, lips, tongue, teeth, soft palate, hard palate, which are articulators that we study when studying linguistic. Briefly speaking, to be considered for singing lyric diction, first of all, you have to understand the text, you have to understand the meaning of the words, but also the whole piece register is also taken into account. It is not the same, or it might not be the same to sing the same word in a lower register or in a higher register. Legato is also something that is always pursued by singers, which is the cadence that has to be kept in a singing environment. Regional varieties are considered. We are pushing and aiming for as standard or as neutral as possible, but it is to be there has to be a certain awareness of regional varieties as well. In some cases,
Hello, Sarah.
especially in
Hi.
cases of register extremes, vowel substitutions might be
Hi.
necessary.
Okay.
And then we have
Tell me about your
actual
English
researchers
background, Sarah.
to flavor these
Please
performance, such
tell
as
me
the
about
merge,
your English
emerge of
background.
certain sounds, implosions of passives, and expressive doublings of consonants. We have audience and orchestration to be taken into account. It's not the same to sing next to an orchestra, next to a piano, next to a pre-made track. And I will say that the pressure will be different if your audience is fluent in the language that you are learning. This was an action research, and also relying on the mixed method approach. And this is based on mostly on Rutkowski and late studies. Rutkowski was the person to coach 3 or 4 singers to on their English phonetics, and Lei was the one that came up with the action research approach to teach an Italian diction
I can see that. And
singers as well.
what are your plans
Um,
regarding this C1 exam?
we're talking about voice students of the conservatory, and part of the purpose of sample is that they have to have a piece in the English language that is part of the repertoire or learning, which was necessary for this research. And there were 3 stages. A preliminary stage in which
And when are you finished your work, Sarah?
students slash participants answer
Oh,
a survey
very soon
to
then.
see their background, their linguistic or also the diction background. And they had
Oh,
3
that's
and one-on-one
I think it's a good
diction
plan.
lessons, and then they answer another survey, both in the pre and post stages. They were requested to record themselves singing their piece in English, and which were transcribed for in the International
Yes?
Phonetic Alphabet for this analysis. Um, for the surveys,
Do
we
you know the
rely on
name
the
of the
phonetics
teacher
accounts,
already?
and we rely on the help of the on the Google Forms
Okay.
that help us visualize the results. And the lyrics were transcribed to IPA and analyzed through thematic analysis. Um,
Okay. Super.
and
Where do
at
you
first, we
live,
found
Sarah?
out that most of them define their English level as basic. We
Oh, I see.
also find where they have mixed
Very nice.
responses
And how do you
according
usually
to
spend Christmas?
their perception if they can face independently a piece in English. Um,
Okay.
I left a space for open and the questions as well. They seem to have a general interest, but nothing specific. However, they felt confident singing in English. Um, there were mixed answers when asked about if their knowledge of phonetics limits their voice projection, but they were leaning towards a
Really?
positive
Wow.
answer.
And
Um, When asked about relaxation in singing, they mentioned mostly breathing exercises and relaxation exercises. There is only one mention of articulatory aspects.
About how is it that you learn?
They all of them have taken phonetic lessons before. Half of them took English lyric diction lessons before, others in other languages. And they felt
Two
capable to
of them.
apply the acquired
Wow.
knowledge into their
Two in the
singing.
same family.
But when asked if the
Wow.
phonetics application, I mean, if they were able to apply what they learned in the phonetic lessons into their singing, answers
Can you tell me about that experience,
varied.
please?
Half of them said that was not taken into account. Um, and the other half had a positive response towards it. When asked if they knew any tools or advice helpful, they mentioned phonatory aspect, placement of voice, lips, and composition, and this is where we start to see some connection towards the articulatory aspect.
Okay.
After that, they have these three lessons. Number one was dedicated to vowels, number two was dedicated to consonants, and number three was dedicated to connecting all the aspects to the singing of the piece itself.
Your your
Um,
old job.
and after that, they still have this positive perception that the knowledge of phonetics might limit their
Oh,
voice projection. Um, they were more positive towards
you work in a
the
fabric,
the techniques they
in a
acquired
factory.
to independently address a piece in the English language,
Right.
and they felt capable to sing,
Hmm.
to apply their phonetics knowledge to singing that remain consistent. And when asked what they need to know to reduce tension, um, now we see the mentioning of vowel substitution
Get
and the use of
get get
consonants
get
um, added to the corpus of what they know. Um,
three more. Mom.
the appreciation towards application of phonetics to their
Ah,
singing was
yes.
majority
Nice. Wow.
positive. Um, they I again left a place for them to explain what they consider positive. And we can see here the mentioning of the International
How
Phonetic
different
Alphabet.
is the
We can see lift
Denmark
position
from
and
Hawaii? Is it very
the
different?
use of the correct pronunciation to reach higher or lower notes.
How is it different?
Um, yeah, how this articulatory can be of help towards their singing. They feel like they can independently face a piece in the English language, and they feel confident singing in English.
Hmm.
I left the part of additional comments because there seemed to be a very positive
High, very high.
um, perception after the lessons as well. They emphasize the helpfulness of the content that they learn. Um, Therefore, and moving towards the transcriptions, there was
The government?
it is to be mentioned that these different singers have different levels of command of singing as well as the language. And so two were seniors and one was a beginner. However, issues that remained consistent was the release of diphthongs.
Wow, five
They had
million. That's a
no
good
awareness
salary.
or little awareness of the difference between tense and lax vowels. They had no awareness of vowel reduction. They had to be taught about schwa and how sometimes they are using the English
Alone.
language.
Uh-huh.
And those are the issues that they had in common. We can also mention that they were found some fricatives pronunciations in the place of stops, which is part of the
Food.
Spanish
Tell me about food.
um, phonetic repertoire, but it's something that stands out when you're singing in English.
Really? They don't eat fish?
I can mention
Lots
that
of fish?
there was after
Potatoes.
lessons
Potatoes.
a slight increase in accuracy was observed. It's not a complete increase. And it is to be noted
They
that
don't drink
I don't
what?
have the
Water.
sample to make a
Water.
generalized statement,
Oh,
but these participants have
oh
a
no, that's
increase,
not very healthy. It's
which
not
leads us
healthy.
to consider that they have started to acquire this linguistic or phonetic awareness to be able to hear the differences at least. Um, I want to highlight the case of Jacqueline in this case because
Your uncle.
in her case, I will say that she knew, but she was not aware of her
Water.
own knowledge. She did not have this
Mm,
procedural
alcohol.
knowledge. So
Wow.
she was thinking the
Very
same
horrible,
phrase,
horrible,
remember
horrible
me,
habit.
and
Very bad
higher,
habit.
lower, and every time it sounded differently. You can hear sometimes vowels were in tense, lax,
No.
and the art sometimes was rhotic, sometimes was
Okay.
trill.
Thank you very
So
much,
after
Sarah.
this lesson, she
Now
was able
I can
to
see your
achieve that
face and
uniformity.
I know more
So
about
I guess
you and that you
that's one
went
of
to
the positive
Denmark more
aspects
than
that was
once,
achieved.
etc. So thank you very
Um,
much for sharing that with me.
Anything else to say?
All right. Oh, thank you very much.
Um,
Thank you. Oh, yes, grateful, grateful. That's okay.
Sorry.
All right. I'm very happy. Very happy. Goodbye.
So with this in mind and looking at our research question, what is the impact, sorry, of explicit
Mami,
instruction in English phonetics on the
¿qué
diction of
quieres?
voice students?
No anda,
It's
es
this
lento, no
increase of
me reconoce
accuracy
esta computadora.
and
Le
also this
llamé en un
awareness
celular, tenía dos por
that they
ciento el celular.
have um, acquired. Um, they mention, sorry, sorry, they mentioned in the service this confidence that they maintain. They mentioned specifically what were the aspects that they found useful, and also the lessons provided of this space to show, to model, and put it into practice. And which we can hear in the recordings that they have started to understand the nuances of the of the phonetic differences, let's say. In regard to the second question, what are the considerations for sound production, voice projection? The result itself highlight the effectiveness of having this space for instruction and as well as this space to practice and put it into practice to connect the theory into their actual piece that they are learning, that they are practicing. This was helpful, the introduction to these concepts, such as vowel relaxation or tense or lax vowels, was helpful for them to gain awareness. Also, this class time was provided to put into consideration the nuances of timbre, range, difficulty of the piece, because sometimes a higher pitch can generate a necessary tension. So you have to find a way to articulate the sound, but in a relaxed manner. And that, uh, it is also important to keep in mind that they are not native speakers, so they might not be familiar with pronunciation patterns, and that's why this explicit instruction it's helpful for them. Um, and lastly, we have the last question: what are the considerations to be taken when addressing the piece? Again, is having this practice time to connect the content to their actual piece. What I mentioned already, the explicit instruction of diphthongs, vowel reduction, and I found that it was very helpful to build on singers' previous knowledge, because maybe they are, I mean, they have this background of knowing how to sing in other languages, and they were able to use this that previous knowledge either to contrast or transfer certain aspects, such as the intervocalic s that has this voice quality in its release. That's, among the pedagogical implications, and the study helped to understand the way articulation can be of assistance to singers to address their pieces in different note lengths, heights, and it was identified how participants can use the whole phonetic repertoire to learn the pronunciation of a new language. And I think the main takeaway is this integral approach of having this place for presenting concepts that might be more theoretical, but also being able to apply them into their piece. My recommendations will be to study this in a bigger sample or with a bigger population to be able to make generalization and statements that will be statistically relevant. And I also suggested the use of spectrogram software to be able to observe these to have a visual illustration of these phonetic releases and nuances, and how these phonetic variations look like in a more numeric way, let's say it. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexandra. Now we are having some questions for you. Okay.
Yes.
So, who would like to start, or should I start? You tell me what. Okay. Now, I think the work is very interesting, but something that probably you mentioned, but it was not clear. One of your conclusions was the explicit teaching of phonetics to teachers, and one of the phonetics teachers says teaching phonetics is like, or phonology is like learning to dance. Okay,
Mhm.
has to be, you have to do the physical part, and do they do that? Do they produce the sound they are actually learning where is the sound, and they can see the different nuances, can they?
Yes, and in fact, yes, I mean, lots of resources. I mean, was model. I mean, I model myself. I show them videos. I have my phonetics chart to show them the exact place of articulation with her examples, with her, I mean, when targeting specific sounds, and with her, okay, this is how this may sound in American English, but it might differ in British English. And I think the most important one was in the third lesson because um, this is where we actually took a look of how to make that sound in the piece because sometimes they will tell me, okay, this note is too high.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a reminder, okay, this is where you should put your mouth, this is where you should put your lips, and it's like automatically you they can automatically sound, you can hear the resonance of the note they are trying to sing. And in other cases, however, you have to make some modifications like singing and about thinking of an O to get to that place.
And will they write down the right pronunciation in their I think in their pentagrams, or I don't know what they get the music because it's usually in the music just tells you like allegretto vivace in Italian, but it tells about the way it should perform, not the way you have
Sound.
to
Yeah.
sound. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that was something that we were doing together. So when it was necessary, I would add those notes with the expectation that hopefully in the future they will able to do that by themselves.
But they would understand if you help them now. And actually the and this phonetic alphabet can be useful to produce in other languages as well.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay, so that is my question. Who wants to?
Thank you.
Is there another question or?
Professor Bento, do you have a question? We cannot hear your voice.
Mhm.
No?
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can.
My headset is it's probably not working properly. Ale, how did you come up with this topic? I know that you have been performing music, but this is a very specific topic. So how did you come up with it?
Observation, I guess. I am not. I never studied singing formally, but I had classmates who were singers, and they will mention that they will have like Italian diction, or they were starting to implement new languages, and this is where I started thinking, what about English diction? This is. I think this is something that I could look into.
Okay. Aaron, do you have a question
So,
or is it?
well, I have many questions, but one of them is I want to access the video of your training session. I want to access the video. I want to
Okay.
see um, how you prepared that video, and I'm also wondering if how useful would it be to do this type of lessons with
Mm,
simple music for beginners, for example, right? For people who are not only learning how to sing, but they're learning to speak English,
mhm.
beginners. And so if we do this type of training for very beginners, so they understand how to announce, how to say the words, right? um, I think it's a very useful. I think it's very practical that you did this lesson with them and that you have their reflections of the material, and they really enjoyed this. I mean, according to the answers, right? They really enjoyed that you made this material and it's a reference. Are you planning to allow more people to have access to this video, these training sessions? I mean, more singers, not just this focus group.
Do you mean to the recordings
Yeah.
of? I honestly didn't thought of it, but yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Do you have any more questions? Okay. So, Alexandra, now we will ask you to leave the room. And,
Okay.
okay. Thank you for your presentation.
And you are going to text me in the WhatsApp group, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So,
Okay.
congratulations. You did it.
You did it. Continue studying, continue writing, continue guiding people because it can be very useful.
Yeah.
Felicidades, licenciada.
Yeah.
Thank
Congratulations. We're
you.
proud to call you our colleague.
Gracias.
Finally.
And explore that. You have a lot to offer.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ale.
Okay. Bye,
Did you
Ale.
want to take a picture, Mr.
Yes,
Thank
we
Christopher?
are.
you.
We are. So 1, 2, 3. There. Let me see. Yes. Very well done then. Okay.
Super. Congratulations, Ale.
Thank you. Thank you very
Congratulations,
much.
licenciada.
We're so happy for you.
Go
Thank you
celebrate.
very much.
Keep writing, keep investigating.
Yeah, because
Your writing was always good, Ale. You were